Hello, I'm Rajab, the founder of Apionix. If you have ever struggled with setting up APIs, managing endpoints, or dealing with infrastructure, I have got something good for you. Here is Apionix, a low-code tool for API development and management. Whether you are a solo developer, a startup, or a business, Apionix helps you build APIs faster without worrying about servers, authentication, or security. Let us dive into how it works. Here is its interface. It is found in apionix.com. Let us get started to see how it works. First of all, let us create an account. Let's say first name, last name, and email. Let's say Rajabu at apionix.com. Let us put a password. Then let us create an account. After creating an account for the first time, this is how it will look. Since there is no project added, it will read there is no projects. Okay, let us use dark mode for clarity. First of all, let us add the project. Let us call it library project for keeping and maintaining books. Let's say this is a project for maintaining books. Then let us register a project. So after creating a project, it will look like this. In this page, it will show a list of all projects you have created so far. Since you have created the library project, it will look like this. Let us dive into it. Inside single projects, for instance, the library project that we have created, the first page that is opened is a dashboard page. It shows the total number of API generated, total table generated, and so on. On our sidebar, there is API collection, modeling, and database. Let us start with database schema. For each project, there are default tables that are created. For most of the projects, most of the time there is user management. So everything relating to user management are created automatic. For instance, the table of users, all API that are relating to user. So in data, it will show a list of all data that have been posted through our endpoint. Also, there are default modeling that have been created for posting users and getting users. For getting users, the response payload have been also created automatic, though we can delete or update it, but these are for authentication. For most of the time, authentications comes as a built-in in most frameworks. Also for posting users, here you can see there is phone number, last name, and so on. Also there are API collections that have been created automatics. First one is users, for getting list of all users, also for registering users. Also you have auth collections for reset password, change password, and so on. So first of all, since we are dealing with library management, let us create a table for adding books. Let's call it book table. For consistency, let's call it a books. So here is a book table. Let us add the, let's say, title. We have title, which is voucher. Also, let us add the description of the book. sorry, this is not supposed to be a table, it's supposed to be a column of the book. So let us add description. This is supposed to be a text. Okay, this is our table for maintaining books. We have title, description, and this ID, created at and updated at. So let us deal with this for demonstration purpose. So first of all, let us create an API modeling. Let us create its collection. Let us call it book collection. Books. What do we want? First of all, let us create this collection are like a serializer in most of the frameworks for validation purpose and so on. First of all, let us create a post book model. Let us call it a post. Let us select a table, it's a books. Then let us submit. If we preview this, as you can see, we can only post description and the title. ID is auto created, the same as created yet and updated yet. It just keeps track of the timestamp when a book is updated or is created. So for the post, we can get we can post the description and the title. Let us create another model for getting book. Let's call it get books. Method is get. Let us select a table, which is book table. Then let us submit. As you can see, for getting method, we can get the ID of the book. Also, it's updated yet and created yet, meaning timestamp. Also, we can remove, let us remove, for instance, updated yet. As you can see, it can be removed for this is specific mode. So far we have created two models, get books and post book. So let us create an API collection for books. Let us call this books. As you can see, the endpoints, the collection name also will determine the endpoints. So let us call it books. Then let us create an API endpoint for posting book and again for creating book. Let's add an API. First of all, let us call this API post book. Let us create an HTTP method. Let's call it any post. Here is an API preview. Also, you can edit these endpoints. For instance, we can write book and so on. But for this, let's leave the way it is. So this is an endpoint for posting book. Then next, then this is for post books. As you can see in the preview. Then let us create an API. So this is an API. If we click this single API, we can see there is a request. Also, we have request header and the request body. We have the response. We have success status. Also, we have error status. No data provided, invalid request, and so on. Also, we have examples, code examples, JavaScript, Python, and Curl. You can preview them. So let us test this. As I've said, in the database, we have data. All data posted will also be shown in these tabs. So let us start with this. Let us try to post some books in this endpoint. Let us copy this endpoint and go to this is Postman. So let us create an endpoint, an API. API slash books. This is post method. Let us try to post without adding any data. As you can get this, no data provided, no data provided. In the response, in the errors, that's the first error, no data provided. So let us add some data. The first data is title and the description. Let us add title. Let's call it this is the first book. Okay. Another one is description. Let's call this is description. First of all, let us submit without adding description so as to see what will happen. If we submit without adding description, it will say errors, missing required field, which is description. Also, if we add any unneeded fields, also it will validate. It will say field this is not valid. So let us remove this and submit this. It will say success data inserted successful. If we try to see the list of data submitted, we will see all of them in the data. Let us try to add the second book. Let's call this is the second book. Let's call this is the second description. Let us submit. Also, let us submit the third. This is the third book and this is the third description. Okay, let us try to get in the same API to see what will happen. So far, we have not created the get endpoint in this. The get in this endpoint. Let us try to see what will happen. So you say invalid API method. Why? Because we have not created a get request. All the data that we have submitted, we have posted in the API endpoint will be shown here, as you can see. Let us create new API endpoint, which is a get API. Let's call it a get books. We want to get a list of books or collection of books. Let us get collection of books. Then next, then we are trying to get collection of resources. Then this is collection of books. It will contain description, title, and so on. Let us create the API. So the second API that we have created so far is the API of fetching collection of books. So let us try this get request. Okay, it has fetched this successful. So by default it will create. By default it will paginate the data, as you can see, and we can control the pagination by adding page and things like that. Since we have created only 3 books, it has fetched all of them successful. What if we want to fetch a single collection of data? Let's say we want to fetch only the second book. So let us create another API endpoint for fetching single collection of data. Get book. Then this is HTTP method. Then we want to fetch single collection. Then let's call it book ID. This will be the final endpoint. API slash book slash book ID. Then next, variable name can only contain book ID. I think it is supposed to be like this, book ID. Then next thing, we are trying to get some books, creating API. So the third API is API slash book ID. So it is getting, the API is getting, but slash book ID. let us assume you are trying to get the third book. It will fetch the book successful. What if we are trying to fetch a book that does not exist? Let's say book 5. What will happen? So the system will respond with 404 not found, resource not found. All these errors have been documented in each and every API. For instance, for getting single resource API, in the response tab, there is a list of errors that can be generated or can be expected in this API. The first one is 404, which is resource not found, and the other one is server errors. For let's say posting books, as we have seen in the response collection of errors, there are several errors, validation and so on. What if we want only authenticated user to get single collection of resource? For instance, single collection of books. So we can make the API as authenticated. If the API become authenticated, then we can try to see a list of errors that can be expected. So there are several errors now. There is token missing, the issue of there are several errors concerning token. So let us try to get the third box. It will say token missing. So we need to have a token to get this collection of books. So where do we get the token? These are just JWT token. There are built-in APIs for generating token, refreshing token, change password, and reset token. Reset password. I think they are straightforward. For instance, for generating token, as you can see, we need the username and the password. Before generating token, we have to create these users. After creating users, then we can generate token for specific user. How do we create users? There are some APIs for registering users. So these are built-ins. As you can see, in these APIs, there are these built-ins. Most of these built-ins are for user management and the issue of authentications, issue of JWT and so on. But for books that we have created, it is not a built-in. It comes from getBooks model and so on. So that is how it is. In these remaining tabs, we have logs that keeps track of all APIs, response time, IP address, and so on. Dashboard, we can invite other users, and so on. Also, we have setting. So this is Apionix. So far, it is in the development, it is the MVP stage. So I'm looking to get feedback from all of you guys so that I can improve. Thank you.